The message came from the depths of space, a garbled transmission from an unknown source. When scientists finally decrypted it, the content was shocking. People of Earth, we are refugees from the planet Xyloth. Our homeworld has been destroyed by the destroyers, a ruthless race bent on conquest. Hundreds of our ships have escaped and are heading for your solar system. Please, we beg you, hide us from the destroyers. We have nowhere else to go. The transmission set off a firestorm of activity and debate on Earth. Many were fearful of getting involved in an interstellar war or suspicious that it could be a trick. But others argued we had a moral imperative to help those in need. Imagine if it was us out there with nowhere to run, one leader pleaded to the United Nations. After days of heated arguments, a majority of nations voted to allow the Xylothian fleet to take refuge on Earth and the other planets and moons of the solar system. A message was broadcast on all frequencies. Xyloth, we have heard your plea. Come to Earth. You will have sanctuary here. Several weeks later, a ragtag fleet of 100 battered ships, jury-rigged with scraps, dropped out of warp near Jupiter. Humanity's leaders established contact and gently guided them into orbit around Earth. The ships landed one by one in designated refuge zones. Throngs of humans watched in person and on TV as the first Xylothians emerged. They were shorter than humans, with smooth purple-gray skin, oversized eyes, and 3 fingers on each hand. Draped in simple silver jumpsuits, they looked exhausted and shell-shocked. A Xylothian who identified herself as Chancellor Xylon thanked humanity for taking them in. "We are forever in your debt," she said. "The destroyers would have surely caught us without your help." In the following days, the refugees were settled across the planet as they began to share their story and their knowledge with their human hosts. Soon, the people of Earth would learn more about the terrifying enemy the Xylothians had escaped and the danger they had brought to our skies. Chancellor Xylon shared the harrowing tale of her people's plight with the UN Security Council. The destroyers, she explained, were a rapacious spacefaring race, far more technologically advanced than the Xylothians. They attack without warning or provocation, Xylon said, her voice quavering. Their plasma cannons and antimatter bombs ripped through our defenses like tissue paper. Our pleas for mercy fell on deaf ears. The destroyers, it seemed, were on a quest to subjugate the galaxy piece by piece, seizing planets for their resources and enslaving local populations. They showed no interest in diplomacy or coexistence. They will not stop until every world is under their heel, Xylon warned. As the destroyers bombarded Xyloth, a group of scientists and engineers worked feverishly to outfit a fleet of colonization ships for evacuating as many civilians as possible. "It was our last hope," Xylon said. "Staying would have meant death or servitude." The refugee fleet escaped just as the last Xylothian cities crumbled beneath the destroyer onslaught. But the attack had damaged many refugee ships and killed a large portion of the evacuees. "We do not know if any of our brethren who stayed on Xyloth still live," Xylon said softly. "And now we fear we have brought this scourge to your doorstep." Xylon shared all the information the Xylothians had on destroyer technology, tactics, and weaknesses, though their knowledge was limited. Humanity now faced a choice: turn the Xylothians away and hope the destroyers would not come knocking, or honor their promise of sanctuary and use this knowledge to prepare for a potential confrontation. In exchange for refuge, the Xylothians offered to share their advanced technologies with Earth. They had knowledge of efficient zero-point energy reactors, gravity manipulation, and bioengineering that was decades ahead of our own. If the destroyers did come, access to this tech could be crucial to mounting a successful defense of our solar system. The decision to provide sanctuary to the Xylothians did not come easily. While a majority of countries, moved by compassion, supported taking the refugees in, a vocal minority resisted. "We don't know anything about these creatures," one opposition leader argued. "This could be an invasion disguised as a humanitarian crisis, and even if their story is true, why should we risk our own safety for them? The humane thing is to send them on their way." Ultimately, A UN resolution passed, reaffirming Earth's offer of shelter to the Zilothians. The nations of the world pledged to settle the refugees and share the burden of providing for them. Sites were allocated for temporary Zilothian housing, while allowing them to gradually integrate with human populations. The Zilothians embraced their new home with gratitude and grace. They proved eager to share their culture and knowledge with humanity and pitched in to work where they could. Zilothian scientists and inventors began collaborating with their Earthling counterparts, developing novel technologies for energy, medicine, computing, and space travel. However, the Zilothians remained traumatized by their experiences. Many struggled with anxiety, depression, and PTSD. A sizable portion could not shake the feeling that the destroyers would find them again. "We have seen what they can do," one refugee lamented. "They will not stop until they finish the extermination they started." Sadly, those fears would soon prove prescient. Unbeknownst to humans and Zilothians alike, a cloaked destroyer scout ship had tracked the refugees to Earth and observed their resettlement. The scout reported back to the destroyer emperor, who seethed with rage at the Zilothians' escape. "This planet aids and abets our enemies," the emperor bellowed. "They spit in the face of our strength. They will learn that only the destroyers can offer sanctuary in this galaxy. Sanctuary in servitude or death." The emperor dispatched his most ruthless commander to teach the people of Earth a lesson they would not forget. As the destroyer battle fleet set a course for Earth, the people of our world remained blissfully unaware of the approaching danger, focusing on befriending and aiding our new galactic neighbors. That is, until a long-range telescope spotted the menacing ships entering our solar system. The arrival of the destroyer fleet sent shockwaves of fear and dread around the globe. In a scene reminiscent of H.G. Wells' War of the Worlds, people panicked at the prospect of an overwhelming alien invasion against which we had little defense. But humanity did not resign itself to doom. The people of Earth met the news with resolve, determined to stand up to the threat and protect our Zilothian guests. If the destroyers wanted a fight, we would give them one. The nations of Earth quickly established a joint command to coordinate our response, with Zilothian advisors providing crucial intelligence. Our new allies shared schematics for directed energy weapons, force fields, and warp detection that would be invaluable in the coming fight. Factories around the world retooled to churn out these advanced arms. The Zilothian refugees volunteered to join the human space fleet, both as fighters and in support roles. "You took us in and shielded us in our darkest hour," Chancellor Xylan said in an address to the UN. "Now we stand with you, our blood joined in common cause. We fight for our shared home, the last bastion of light against the destroyer's shadow." Drawing on Zilothian knowledge of destroyer tactics, Earth forces laid a host of traps and ambushes throughout the solar system. Cloaked mines, satellite missile platforms, and stealth fighter wings to attack their flanks. Strict rationing and curfews were implemented planetside as Earth braced for potential bombardment and invasion. Millions took to underground bunkers and shelters. A rapid training program taught civilians basic defense and first aid skills. All knew the stakes. If the destroyers took Earth, it would spell doom for human and Zilothian alike. As tensions and preparations reached a fever pitch, a message from the destroyers finally arrived. A sneering missive from the destroyer commander to the people of the doomed planet. "Your insolence in harboring our quarry has sealed your fate," it read. "Surrender the Zilothian scum to us, and we will merely subjugate you. Continue this feudal alliance, and we will scour your world of all life. You have one rotation to decide." In response, the Earth-Zilothian Alliance broadcast a message into space on all frequencies. "Destroyers, we will not bend to your aggression. We choose to fight for our freedom and existence. Come and face the wrath and courage of our combined strength. You will find no easy prey here." The battle for Earth was about to begin. The destroyer fleet arrived with terrible force, 1,000 ships bristling with weapons that could crack a planet. They made no further demands or threats, opening fire as soon as they entered Earth's orbit. But the Alliance was ready for them. A wave of stealth fighters, both human and Xylothian piloted, materialized behind the destroyer front lines, pelting the enemy ships with torpedoes and laser fire. The destroyers responded with fusillades of plasma, lighting up the sky like a million blazing suns. On the ground, destroyer troop pods dropped from orbit like metallic hail, disgorging armies of gene-crafted super soldiers in powered armor. But the Alliance had troops of our own, armed with rapid-fire Gauss rifles and portable energy shields based on Xylothian designs. Brutal firefights erupted across every continent. Meanwhile, cloaked mines seated in the destroyer's path detonated in blossoms of nuclear fire, engulfing scores of enemy vessels. But for each one destroyed, 3 more surged forward, disgorging more drop pods and smaller fighter craft into the fray. Losses mounted on both sides as the solar system burned. The destroyer commander, watching from his massive dreadnought, seethed with mounting anger. These primitives and traitors were putting up more fight than expected. He had planned to conquer this system in a day. But if he could not rule it, he would score it clean of life personally. As the flagship began to power its primary cannon to crack the Earth open, a strike team consisting of the best human and Xylothian fighter pilots quietly boarded the dreadnought through a hull breach. Armed with tactical nukes and high-tech sabotage gear, they fought their way to the center of the ship. On Earth, the ground battle turned against the Alliance. Destroyer walkers had landed and were raising our defenses in cities with withering torrents of superheated plasma. All seemed lost, until a brilliant flash lit the sky. The dreadnought buckled and exploded as the strike team overloaded its core. Antimatter fuel cells ruptured, setting off a chain reaction that consumed the destroyer fleet from within. With their flagship gone and chain of command severed, the remaining destroyers fell into disarray. Some continued to fight, but most fled or were soon dispatched by the rallying Alliance forces. After half a day of cataclysmic battle, an eerie quiet settled over the scorched Earth. As the explosions faded and the wrecked destroyer ships burned in orbit, the people of Earth and the Xylothian refugees began to emerge from their bunkers, barely grasping that the battle was over. Broadcasts on all channels announced the stunning news. Against all odds, the Alliance had triumphed. The cost had been terrible. Earth's cities lay in ruins, fires still raging in the streets. Millions had perished in the fierce fighting, both human and Xylothian. The debris from destroyed ships formed a ring around the planet. But through courage, sacrifice, and cooperation, we had beaten back the mightiest threat the galaxy had ever known. In the aftermath, humanity and Xylothians banded together to rebuild. We shared technology and knowledge, accelerating the recovery process. Within months, advanced construction methods had cities rising again. Xylothian aggressions helped heal the Earth and grow food for the survivors. Earth found itself the center of galactic attention. Some species praised our valor, while others feared our strength. The Alliance worked to assure the galaxy of our peaceful intentions, establishing trade and diplomatic ties with far-flung worlds. But we also knew we now had a responsibility to defend the weak against would-be conquerors. With Xylothian cloaking tech and human ingenuity, we began building a network of hidden sentinel stations throughout the solar system and beyond. If the destroyers or any other threat returned, we would be ready. United, we could stand against any foe. Meanwhile, humans and Xylothians started building a new society together on Earth, one that honored diversity and cooperation over conquest and division. Monuments to the fallen of both species graced every city, inscribed with the simple epitaph, "They gave all so we could live free." Chancellor Xylon, who had lost her entire family in the war, was asked how she felt about Earth's future. "I look around and see not tragedy, but possibility," she replied. Two peoples who once knew nothing of each other, now inextricably bound as one. If any good has come from our suffering, it is that